Hello, Kristin here. Welcome to my weekly live Q&A on my channel, From Chronic Fatigue to Chronic Abundance. And that is what I talk about here, how to go a life of living where you're struggling with severe chronic fatigue to a life that feels more abundant. Even if you're still living with your symptoms or other health issues, how we respond to and react to living with illness is a little bit, at least a little bit of a choice, all right? And we can choose to change our mindsets so that we're saving energy. We're saving energy every day because we're not living so stuck in shame and guilt and frustration and victim mentality. We are choosing to live more in hope and mindfulness and awareness. And those more, I don't want to say positive because this is not about a positive mindset. I want to say those more uplifting emotions give us more energy than they take from us, all right? And every little tiny bit of energy helps. So if our mindset can help us save energy from shame and guilt and frustration and all those things, and we can get a little bit more out of the emotions that we're getting, it's that much more energy you get to have every day to pour into your healing journey, all right? And that's what we talk about here. I'm not saying this is all in your head. Changing your mindset is not all you need to get better. There will be a lot of other things you will need to heal along the way, all right? That's your healing journey. What the healing mindset does is it lays a foundation and gives you more energy to discover your healing journey, all right? I consider it foundational and critical for your healing journey. All right, hi guys. Halfer here says hi. He wanted to hang out today. Look at him, isn't he so cute? Let's see if you can see his eyes. He has the coolest eyes. They're a beautiful color. Hi, Roxy. I'm so glad you're on and joining. I'm back in the office again today. You guys seemed to like it last time, so here I am again. You'll notice these ropes that are probably kind of distracting. They are washing the windows outside today. And that's, I don't know if you've ever seen this before. If you don't live in a city or work in a city, maybe you haven't seen this before, but they literally kind of like rope climbers have like a whole harness where they're attached to this rope, and all they're doing is they're just belaying down the side of the building as they're washing the windows. All right. So I didn't see the ropes go down. So I don't know if they're above us or below us. I'm assuming they're below us, so you probably won't see them go by. And our windows are still filthy because we actually have a balcony here, so they can't reach our windows because of the balcony. So it goes. Thought I would explain that to anybody who is wondering what that is. Yeah, Roxy, he really is. This is my boyfriend's cat. He's like 11, so he's a little bit of an old man. But he is so sweet and so cuddly and such a lover and just wants to be held and cuddled. And like, you can just kind of do whatever you want to him. Like you can kind of play with him and he's cool with it. Rub his belly. You can be in the other room. And if you call him like, Halford, come here, Halford, he'll come running. He comes right away. He knows his name. He's, like I said, the coolest cat I've ever known. And now I get to live with him. And it's wonderful. Hi, Jamie. I'm so glad that you're here. I think we were talking in the comments, was it yesterday, a couple days ago? Really glad you're here. Let's see. So the point of my weekly live Q&As is that you guys bring your questions and I give you my take on answers. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not licensed, not any of those things. So everything I tell you is just my opinion and not advice as to what exactly you need to do for yourself. That's up to you to decide. But why I do talk about this is because I have lived with severe chronic fatigue as a symptom for years. Severe chronic fatigue that was so debilitating that I have been out of work a combination of like 3 years of my adult life, which is very hard. And I have healed myself from this 3 times, okay? Got sick the first time when I was like 24, 25. Lived with that for several years before I figured out what my healing journey was and got myself back to healthy. And when I say got myself back to healthy, I mean, I went back to work full-time in an office. I was going to the gym again whenever I wanted to. I had a social life again. I was making plans for my future again. And that first time my health lasted for about a year before I hit my first relapse. We still don't know why I relapsed or what caused it, but I did relapse. All right. And then I relapsed a second time, and I've healed from it each time to the point where it's been, I want to say, what is it? I keep saying I need to like write down, I need to like plot out exactly when things happen so I can give you guys exact times when it comes to years. It's been like 3 or 4 years. Let's go with 3 years since I recovered from my last relapse. No more relapses. Pretty sure I figured out how to nip those in the bud. And what I talk about is what I needed to heal every time, okay? And I can tell you that as one human being, I needed completely different things each time I healed, all right? There is no one prescriptive path to health that I can give anybody to get over severe chronic fatigue, because your root causes for severe chronic fatigue are probably very different than mine, right? And when we're living with severe chronic fatigue, we can all have different diagnoses, because severe chronic fatigue is just a symptom, all right? Some of us can also be diagnosed with ME/CFS or Lyme's disease, fibromyalgia, or lupus, all right? Severe chronic fatigue comes as a symptom of many different illnesses, of many poorly understood severe chronic illnesses. And there was a point I was getting to with that. I've talked about all these things 100 times over. It should just be second nature to me by now. I will admit I was I was a little thrown off my game when I saw the ropes for the window cleaners. Something about that just felt a little violating, to have somebody peering directly, someone having the ability to potentially peer directly into my apartment building when I didn't know it. Threw me off, and I unfortunately didn't get my head back in the game. So as one person, I needed completely different things to heal. I needed different practitioners, different doctors, different supplements, different doses, different blood work. Those 3 things were very, very different each time that I healed. Okay. And even over time, as my illness progressed, my health progressed, what used to help me maybe stopped helping me, or what didn't work for me before would begin to work for me as I reached the right stage in my health evolution. So it's really, really important to be working with a knowledgeable doctor or practitioner when you are going through this test cycle, when you are trying new supplements, when you're trying to figure out what your body needs, because your body probably needs a lot of things in very specific doses and very specific ratios, and you need someone who's been there before to guide you through all of that. All right. Which is why I don't talk about supplements and treatments and doses and stuff like that, because that's not essential information. And if I had the second time I got sick, if I had tried to do just the exact thing I had done to heal the first time, I would not have gotten better the second time. All right. Maybe that's a better way of saying that, is that, yeah, the second time I got ill, I had initially tried doing the things I had done for the first time, and it was not enough, and it did not get me better. Okay. So if I can't even follow my own plan and get better between the first and second time my health crashes, there's no way that what I did is what you need to do. Okay. Unfortunately, these chronic, poorly understood health issues are more of a personal journey than something prescriptive. I can tell you what to do step by step. Hi, Indra. Welcome. Ralph, my windows are greasy because when it rains, they just get filthy, and I don't wash windows. I'm not gonna beat around that bush. And the sun is so bright that the dirt residue left over from rain just looks really bright right now. But it's not this bright. Don't have the sun shining like this. The windows don't look this bad. Also, type your questions and get your questions ready. I'll be answering those just as they come up. As I finish one topic, I'll go right into the next one. Yeah, so I was saying how as one person, I could not follow my own path to get healthy again, okay? And this is how I know that you guys need to find your own healing journey, because I need to find my own healing journey 3 times. 3 different healing journeys for one person, right? And actually, I'll say there's two things. I'll say there's two things now that helped me get better through all three health crashes, okay? The number one thing that helped me get better that I talk about on this channel is the healing mindset, because the healing mindset saved me energy from feeling all that shame and fear and frustration and guilt and all those things that take more energy than they give us. I saved that energy. It also gave me more energy because I was focused on being more hopeful, more focused on outcomes, more focused on doing what I needed to do to get myself healthy. All right. All those things helped me heal. And they also influence the decisions I make. They influence how I feel when I see a doctor who can't help me. For example, a lot of people, and I've definitely been guilty of this myself. You see a doctor who can't help you. You've been misdiagnosed. They've been rude to you. They disbelieve you. They straight up tell you things that you know aren't true. I mean, we've all been disrespected by doctors, I'm sure. And you can spend a lot of energy being really upset about that because it is incredibly unfair. All right. And we can know how unfair it is and how shitty that is, while not losing a lot of energy to that. All right. And the healing mindset helps you say, yeah, that was really unfair. That doctor was very disrespectful and very rude. And I'm going to focus my energy on finding another doctor to go see instead of focusing all my energy on how awful they are. Right. We still know that what they did was wrong. And yet we're choosing to put our energy into healing ourselves instead of losing energy on hating them for it, right? So that's the type of way that the healing mindset influences how you think about things, how you approach things, and how much energy you have to spend on your health every day. And I will say this, the number two thing that helps me through every healing journey, that helps pretty much everybody with severe chronic fatigue, is pacing. All right. If you are not familiar with pacing, you can even just Google like MECFS pacing, and that methodology is going to come up. And it's a really, really simple one. It's really this idea that our bodies have an upper threshold for the amount we can exert ourselves at one time. Okay. And if you go into it deeper, it's actually very much tied to your heart rate. Like our heart rate can only get so high. If our heart rate gets higher than this number, which is personal for each person each day, then we go into a crash. If we keep our activity level and our heart rate low enough, we can actually avoid crashes, okay? And pacing is the practice of learning where those limitations are for you in general and also as it fluctuates every day, and crafting a life within that little tiny energy envelope. Crafting a life where you avoid crashes as much as possible. Because every time you crash, your body has to heal. It takes like days, weeks, or months for us to get back to where we were before that crash. If we can avoid the crashes, we can start seeing more gradual progress, or most people typically see that they stop declining in health, or at least as rapidly, okay? People tend to see some sort of positive effect when they learn to pace effectively. Let's see. Let me take a sip of water here. All right. One little note. I drink a lot of electrolyte water. You can make your own electrolyte water just by putting like raw honey and like fresh lemon juice with a little bit of salt and water. Like all those things are electrolytes. Electrolytes are as simple as sugar and salt and vitamin C and like citric acid and stuff. You don't need Gatorade, which has way too much sugar in it anyway. But when I'm feeling lazy and I don't want to make my own electrolyte water, I use these Nuun tablets, N-U-U-N. Actually, let me go ahead and just type that in here in case anyone's interested in looking into those. I know a lot of people with severe chronic fatigue find that they feel better when they consume more electrolyte fluids as opposed to just plain water, because a lot of people need the extra salt to help increase their blood volume, especially if you have POTS, that can be a big one. And it tastes better than just drinking straight salt with water, which I did for many years actually. So, all right. Roxy, question number 1. Was I suffering with lack of balance and coordination when standing and feeling like you will faint? Yeah, sometimes I did. I would say that was mostly in the first time I got ill, before I learned how to pace and before I really accepted my physical limitations. I was still pushing myself too hard and trying to do too much and insisting on standing up, thinking that like, oh, I don't want to lose muscle tone. I got to push myself to do these things. Oh, it's bad for me to lie down too much, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there would definitely be a lot of times when I would try to stand or even just sit up where I would get pretty wobbly. For me, it wasn't balance as much as it was just my muscles being unable to hold my body upright. My muscles being too weak to actually stand or sit would cause me to wobble a lot and need to go lie down some more. Yeah, coordination definitely suffered. I would drop everything. I swear, like, especially some days, it seemed like I couldn't just keep my hands around something, or my coordination wasn't quite right. I couldn't pick something up like I thought I was going to, and I said I'd knock it off the table. There was definitely a lot of that with each health relapse, becoming less coordinated and becoming super dropsy. And even just walking around is bumping into things constantly. I mean, it was ridiculous. So yeah, those were definitely things I went through. Those weren't things I had to address directly either. Those things all got better as I addressed the deeper underlying health issues. And one thing that was really cool for me, at least, was that the first time I started to heal, I'd been sick, let's go with 2.5 years. 2.5 to 3 years I'd been ill, and I was finally starting to recover the first time. The first time I felt well enough to actually go to the gym and work out as opposed to just like walking somewhere or hiking a little bit. I was really surprised to find out that even after all that time of no working out and barely any walking, my body had actually still retained a lot of its strength. I wasn't as strong as I had been. I used to be really big into CrossFit and doing Olympic lifting. But I definitely came out of it still like stronger than the average woman somehow. So that was really, really cool to see my body preserving muscle tone, even though my energy was too low to do anything with it for a long time. Raph, you moved. You like it? You like your new place? Is it an apartment? Is it a house? Do you have roommates? What's it like? And I'm sure you have all the unpacking left to do still, which is probably a complete nightmare. I don't even want to think about it. I love moving. I hate unpacking. Let's see. All right. Indra has a question. Welcome, Indra, your first question. Let's see. You have chronic fatigue since getting mono in 2009. That's a pretty typical pattern. In 2016, you had a big crash resulting in being housebound and you had a wheelchair. At the moment, you feel much better and you started studying again. That's great. Your fatigue still goes up and down a lot. You're doubting if you can do this or not. You're determined not to crash again, but you don't know if you have enough to get used to it. All right, Indra, what exactly is your question around this? Because it's a really, really tough spot you're in because you've had progress. You've seen success. You are going back to the life that you want to live. And yet a lot of these doubts and questions are coming up as your health continues to fluctuate a little bit. And I'm very familiar with that. My fluctuations have been completely ill, completely better, completely ill. Like, oh my God. In addition to like the smaller little fluctuations that happen along the way. No one's health journey is just a complete, I was here, I got sick, I got better. Like, not when you have severe chronic fatigue. There's always little dips and turns and somersaults and whatever on the road. So what you're going through is not uncommon. I want you to know that it's completely normal. But we can talk about how you're feeling about it, what you're afraid of, why you're afraid, how to figure out what is the right thing to do for your health, because your health is number one priority. Like, I'm hoping we can be on the same page about that, that as important as your studies are to you and as important as it is to go after the life that you want, we both know that you can't do you can't do those things if you don't have your health first, right? And prioritizing your studies too much could lead to another health crash, which we of course want to avoid. With the ideal situation here being finding a way to prioritize your health while also being able to continue your studies. Ideal scenario, right? I mean, let me know if you agree with everything I've just said, or if you're in a different place with it. I just want to make sure we're talking from the same place here. Yeah, okay. So, you are totally right to be afraid. You're completely right to be afraid. Your fear is super valid. You have been way worse off than you are now, and you have gotten better. You have seen that light at the end of the tunnel that some people never get to see, right? I do have a question for you. I'm going to keep talking, but I want you to answer this question for me. Do you know how you got better? Do you know why you got better? Was it something specific that you were doing? Was it a collection of things you were doing? Or is this something where you just feel really lucky that your health improved? Because that's going to be really, really important to how we talk about this, knowing how you got better. And yeah, your fear is completely valid. I'm sure you've read lots of stories online of people who have gotten better and then relapsed. I'm one of those people. And it's the most terrifying thing in the world, because you really start to wonder, oh my God, my health's getting worse again. Is this really the rest of my life? Am I not going to get better this time? Excuse me. I've worked so hard to get here and to get these things back into my life. I can't stand the thought of losing them again. Yeah, I mean, I think it's completely healthy and normal to have those thoughts. What I don't want you to do is to focus on them too much, all right? Like, we need to know our truth. We need to know that we're afraid. We need to know that we feel like we've worked really, really hard and that we don't want to lose these things. We need to know what we want. And at the same time, we also need to say, okay, I need to stay focused on what I'm doing next and what I'm doing this moment to ensure I keep my health and then I can keep living the life I want to live, right? We need to stay focused in the now, and we need to stay focused on what we have control over. I'm not telling you to ignore those things, pretend they didn't happen. Don't shut those thoughts out. Allow them to be and exist and process them if you need to, but choose to come back to the present moment and move forward from it. Let's see. So for Indra, it was a collection of things. You increased your activities little by little, and you got help from a psychologist, okay, and doing yoga and meditation. Okay, so it sounds like you've really worked on the mental side. It sounds like you've been working, hopefully, on cultivating a healing mindset. Those things all tend to help us reduce stress and be a little more positive, stay a little more focused on the things we have control over in life, and stay less focused on the draining emotions, which all helps because our bodies have two different like nervous systems in them. There's the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight, your adrenaline response, and then we have the parasympathetic nervous system, which is rest and digest and healing. Okay? And modern life keeps us very much in the sympathetic fight or flight response. But those activities you've been doing, going to therapy, meditation, yoga, working on your mindset, all of those things really activate the parasympathetic nervous system, getting our bodies to slow down, to calm down, to get rid of that adrenaline and cortisol response, to help activate our immune systems to be optimized to being in a healing mode. Our bodies cannot be stressed out and in deep healing mode at the same time, okay? And when we're as ill as I was and as you guys still are, we need to be in that healing mode as much as possible. So I love what you've been doing, Indra, because it sounds like you've been working with your body in partnership to enable it to do as much healing as possible. And it sounds like you're seeing the results of that. And that's fantastic. And you've been able to slowly, it sounds like within your energy envelope, using pacing, increase your activity over time as a result. That's what I'm getting from what you just shared with me. If any of that's inaccurate, feel free to correct me. Yeah, so like Jamie chimed in, for them, fear generates stress, which in turn creates symptoms, which creates more fear, which creates more stress. Yeah, that downward spiral of stress and ill health is what we're trying to get out of with the positive mindset. I'm sorry, I just said positive mindset. I never want to say that. With the healing mindset, we're trying to break that stress response, all right? So that our bodies can be activated to heal. It's literally like, I want to come up with an analogy. It is literally like, just anyone who's healthy, anybody who's living, their bodies are kind of like a wall. Do I want to say that? Maybe I don't want to say that. I'm going to take 2 seconds here to think of a good analogy. All right. I'm going to compare energy to money again. I've done this before, but I'm going to do it in a new way. It's like you have a bank. Your energy is in a bank, okay? And normal life comes in and like takes deposits out of your bank account because like you have expenses and you have things you need to pay. And then, by working a job or something else, like you get deposits into your bank account. And, a normal healthy person, the ins and the outs are probably kind of constant. And sometimes it gets a little low, but it refills. And like, it's just a constant flow. Well, somebody with severe chronic fatigue is like somebody with a very low bank account balance. And you can't just so casually draw money out because there's very little money going in, and you can't overdraw. If you overdraw, you crash. We need to avoid crashing, okay? And, there's always little things we need to do in our lives, no matter how much we decrease our responsibilities and, get our groceries delivered and like make life easier for ourselves. There's always going to be like money withdrawals, energy withdrawals that we need to make. And stress is kind of like a bank robber coming in. Like we're allowing a bank robber into our bank, taking out more money than really needs to come out on a daily basis, all right? And we're letting that stress thief deplete our reserves even more, all right? Even for someone who's healthy, that stress thief comes in there. That stress thief can be taking money out, stealing it every day for a long time before the healthy person starts to feel drained and burned out and starts to notice, okay? But for us, we're so low in reserves already that we really feel the difference that stress thief makes immediately. And when we stay in a stressful, fearful, guilty state of mind, it's kind of like we've locked the robber in the bank. All right. The cops can't get in to deal with the robber when we're constantly stressed out all day, every day. It's like we've almost given a key to the bank robber and they've locked themselves in there to hoard as much of that cash as they can. And being able to de-stress, learning how to live in a healthier state of mind, learning how to activate that parasympathetic nervous system is like unlocking the door and letting the cops in to arrest that bank robber, all right? And when the bank robber isn't there anymore, they're not withdrawing from our tiny account every day, we start to realize we have a significant amount more left over to spend on healing and to spend on feeling good as we can while we still have these health issues. All right, so maybe that's not the best analogy in the world, but I think I think it fits, all right? If we think about our energy reserves like a bank account and stress as a freaking thief, okay? And chronic stress like locking the door and keeping them in there and letting them just go crazy when really we need to let the cops in, relax, and keep our energy reserves for ourselves using mindset. Okay. So we're still working on Indra's question here. That was just one little piece of it. I was responding to Jamie's comment there too. So, okay, let's see. Jamie says again, they made huge improvements after learning to calm down. Fear of crashing is only that, a fear. Right now you're okay. The future isn't here yet. Beautiful. That's exactly the kind of thinking you get from the healing mindset. So I know it's easier said than done. These examples, for some of us, are going to be a lot harder to implement. But I promise the practice of the healing mindset, working at it every day, is going to be worth the energy it takes, because it will give you so much more energy back in your life. So to talk more about what Indra's doing. Okay, so let's see. So Indra, so I'm going to assume that you've started to lean back into more of that meditation and yoga and the therapy practices and the relaxing and the calming. Are your studies stressing you out? Or is there something else in your life that's adding all of this stress? Is it grades? Is it the amount of homework? And I'd say that's important, because if it comes down to like, you can study, but maybe you need to cut back on one or two of your classes. Like maybe you need to like, when you say you're back to your studies, I'm assuming you mean college or graduate school, university, or whatever they call it where you are. Maybe you need to go through your program slower. Maybe you need to get an exemption or permission to take one or two fewer classes next semester. Or maybe you can remove one class from your course load this semester. Or if you're just finding it hard to study and learn and get good grades because maybe you still have some brain fog, maybe it's worth reassessing, like, okay, if I still have this much brain fog, maybe I'm really not ready for school quite yet like I thought I was, and maybe I need to find a way to reassess. As hard as that is, if that's the right decision for you, I want you to be brave enough to make that decision. Or if it comes down to you're at school and you're studying and you're also doing all of this great relaxation and like healing mindset work on yourself, and you're trying to join some clubs and you're trying to have a social life, like maybe you can't do so many things, and maybe it would be you need to cut out an extracurricular or not focus on socializing as much, or whatever your priorities are. Maybe those need to be addressed. I mean, this is kind of like healing. I wish I could give you one thing to do to make this all better, but unfortunately, it really depends on your situation and where you're at and what your root causes are for feeling more stressed and feeling less healthy. Because once we know those root causes for you, then we can start looking at ways to address that. So right now, I've just been making guesses and throwing things out there. If those are great and helpful, awesome. If not, then let's go a little bit deeper. Okay, let's see. Jacko, Ralph, Roxy, we'll come back to you. All right, and Joe, you're doing one class at a time at the moment, 2 times a week. So that's very nice. University made that possible. That's great. And I love that you looked at that as a possibility and that you're pacing that way. It's beautiful. The most in stress is from traveling and getting there. 3 hours total are you traveling 3 hours a day on train? Oh, Indra. Even 3 hours a week would be too much. Okay. See, this is why we need to know what's really going on, because now we can talk about it. So if you have to take the train like this, if you can't live closer to school, I mean, living closer to school, I think would be, well, there's a lot of caveats with that. I was going to say living closer to school could be the best option, but it depends on how much support you need at home. Like maybe you need somebody who's caring for you at home. Maybe you need someone to be cooking meals and doing laundry for you, then living closer to school might not be an option. Let's just assume you have to take the train for now, and then that's just reality, and you want to find a way to keep taking the train that much. I you need to know that traveling period is very, very stressful on the body. And when we're healthy, even when we're healthy, we feel it a little bit. Even normal people will need to kind of like decompress and relax after long train rides and plane rides and things. And that's because they are just overwhelming our senses. When we're sitting there on a train, we're watching the world go by. It's a lot to look at. Our bodies have to adjust to the G forces of the train moving, accelerating and decelerating. And that takes a lot of work to keep us stable and upright, even if we're sitting up. The noise, there tends to be a lot of noise. Trains, at least in the US here, generate a lot of noise. And our brains do a good job of filtering that out so we stop noticing it, but it takes a lot of effort to filter that out constantly for so long. And there's also the fact that we're having to be super social and not just aware of ourselves, but we have to be pretty aware of our surroundings when we're on some sort of like semi-public transportation like a train, because we need to know what the people around us are doing. We need to know if somebody's asking us to move or we need to get up or someone's trying to sit down next to us or, you know, the conductor's coming by to ask for your ticket. There's a lot of mental just awareness you need to have, and all of that is exhausting. I actually made a video a while ago on how to travel. Another issue for a lot of people with chronic fatigue when they travel are the temperature changes. It can be too hot, it can be too cold, it can fluctuate constantly. You need to be prepared to respond to changes in temperature with your clothing, because many of us have trouble modulating our temperature, our body temperature on our own. Like if we get too hot, we get exhausted. We get too cold, we get exhausted. When I would get too cold, I wouldn't shiver. My body didn't have enough energy to shiver. I would just feel tremendously ill until I got warm again, for example. So I'm going to take a moment here to find this video I made on traveling. Let's see. I actually made, oh my gosh, I made 7 videos on travel tips. That's how much I have to say about travel tips. They're all short videos. They're all like 5 minutes or less. But I made 7 videos on traveling. One on noise, one on light, one on food, hydration, body temperature, how to pack, how to sit when you're traveling. Oh my gosh. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you video 1 in this 7-part series because it addresses noise, which could be a huge part of what is making the train so draining for you, Indra. Okay, travel tips part 1 of 7. All right, so that's that video. Oh, type. I had a typo. Yeah, so I would recommend, if you can, I would recommend getting some sort of really good like mufflers for your ears, something that's going to deaden noise, like something you would wear if you were going to use a chainsaw. Or if you can afford them, get some noise canceling headphones. I have a pair of noise canceling headphones I got on Amazon for $80 that I love. That's one of like the lower price range, lower price point for effective noise canceling headphones. You can even just use earplugs. I found this like clear wax earplug that works really well. It just molds to the inside of your ear. It doesn't even go inside. It actually just sits over top of the outside of your ear. So they're great in that way. Maybe wearing really dark sunglasses. It's going to cut down on all of the visual stimulus that's happening for you. It's going to make it a little harder to see. I wouldn't wear those while you're walking around, but if you could get really dark sunglasses for when the train's in motion, that might help you. Finding a way to be sitting and like leaning against the chair for support as much as possible. Not super easy. I guess it depends on the train. Yeah, making sure that you have enough layers to modulate your body temperature as the outside temperature fluctuates, making sure that you're hydrated, making sure you keep water on you. If you can do electrolyte water with these Noon tablets I mentioned earlier, that could help. I know I get tired if I get too dehydrated. Making sure you have snacks if you need it on those long train rides, making sure you just don't get hungry or thirsty. Being proactive about that. I think all of those things could really, really help you on the train. And the last thing would be, this isn't polite, but sit cross-legged. Like, I mean, I'm gonna dress, but I can still do it. So like, like have your legs, actually I have to go out further for that. Just like having your legs crossed when you're sitting is actually gonna make it easier for you to sit for longer periods. Because when your feet are on the floor, your heart has to work that much harder to pump the blood that's pooling in your feet all the way back up, right? So if you can shorten that distance, you're gonna make it a little bit easier on your heart and on your body to be sitting for long periods of time. You might need to wear shoes that you can easily slip on and slip off, so you don't have your shoes on the seat on a train. But that's workable, and I would do all of those things. And it's going to be a lot of work to prepare for your train ride every day. I mean, this is a lot of stuff to keep in mind, but make it a habit you build up. And once you start doing this stuff, I really think this could help with your energy while you're going to school a lot. I'd love it in a few weeks if you check back in with us and let us know how that's going, as you like manage your train ride with with avoiding another relapse. All right, awesome, Indra, welcome. That was a great question. So much came out of that. So many different topics, and people can really relate to what you're going through too. And then I wanted to stop by with Roxy because she talked about studies. She had to stop school. She's way too ill. She can't concentrate at all, super foggy. And any mental effort makes you more ill. Mental effort definitely is effort, definitely takes energy. And a normal person doesn't notice it as much as we do because our reserves are already so low. So Roxy, I'm really, really sorry to hear you're at a point where you had to stop your studies, and I'm assuming you're would like to get back to them at some point. So I hope Indra is a little bit of hope and inspiration for you and motivation for you to really focus on like the healing mindset basics and to keep searching for those things that you need to start feeling better. All right, Jacko. Oh, Roxy, thank you. I make these. This is one of my hobbies I have right now is making body jewelry. So I have a lot of fun. I have a tiny little collection of hand chains that I've made myself. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, Jacko. Was my gut awful all day, every day, or was it just bad in the morning? Mine's worst, or his is worse in the morning, diarrhea, but usually calms down toward the evening. Okay, Jacko. I know we've talked a little bit about gut stuff before, and not everyone with CFS or severe chronic fatigue has gut stuff, but a lot of us do. My third relapse was accompanied by IBS. I went to a doctor at University of Pennsylvania, world-renowned school of medicine, and they couldn't figure out what was going on with me. And they're just like, okay, well, you have IBS, but that doesn't do anything for you because we have no treatments for IBS. You're just kind of stuck with it forever. I wasn't stuck with it forever. After 18 months, I was able to figure it out and got rid of my IBS and have been IBS free for several years now, which is great. Probably like 3 years now, no IBS. But even when I didn't have IBS, there were definitely phases I would go through. I would say I'd go through phases of gut issues where, oh, those lines are really moving now. Where, my gut issues would tend to be worst in the morning. And I think that holds true for a lot of people. In fact, there's a very specific pattern for a lot of people where you wake up, people tend to have bowel movements in the morning. After your bowel movement, people become acutely fatigued and they start to feel this like throbbing, pulsing all through their torso and their gut, but only right after having a bowel movement. And I've never found any answers as to what causes that. There's some speculation. Some people say it's your vagus nerve. Your vagus nerve is this nerve that comes down from your head and like loops around an artery or something and goes up and goes back down. and like supposedly like the way it travels through your gut, the motion of your waste through your bowels, we'll say, can trigger something, can kind of cause that nerve to like spasm a little bit. And that's what some of these feelings are after a bowel movement, or why some of us have like worse symptoms in the morning, because it's kind of like still tired and sleepy and more sensitive and stuff. I don't know that I buy any of that. I'm just sharing with you like theories that are out there. But from my own experience and people I've talked to and stories that I've read, I think it seems to be pretty common to have more gut issues in the morning, especially right after your first bowel movement of the day. What do I want to say about that though? Like figuring out your IBS is going to be a top priority. There is no like one single official cause of IBS, but for me, it seemed to be like toxicity and detox related. Like my body was going through a major detox phase at that time. Even though we never found what my body was detoxing in large quantities. But it seems like one of the ways my body detoxed that was by putting it into my bowels, not my bladder, but my bowels. And that caused a negative reaction with bacteria and everything else. And my body was just like in constant like emergency evacuation mode because of what was being detoxed through my bowels. And this isn't some theory I came up with on my own. This was talking with my knowledgeable doctor who's helped people through things like this a lot of the time. And the reason we think it's toxicity and detox related is because my third relapse which also triggered IBS, was actually started by a 90-minute deep tissue massage. And it really seems like that 90-minute deep tissue massage, full body massage, worked something out of my cells, my tissues that my body had stored away. Could have been in my muscle cells, my fat cells. We don't know. But it suddenly was released into my bloodstream in large quantities, and it seemed to have continued to detox that stuff from my system for a long time after that. And the reason my doctor believed that this was like detox is partly because of the massage starting it, but also because my body responded most favorably when we added detox support supplements to my routine. So things like, at the very basic level, like things like vitamin C really, really helped. We also experimented with like, there are a lot of supplements you can take when you're supporting heavy metal detox from the body. I responded very favorably to those things. So like, because I had a knowledgeable practitioner working with me who knew what to test and knew what things meant, we were able to say like, okay, Kristin has some like major detox stuff going on. And as my body has detoxed this stuff and gotten better, the IBS went away because I was supporting the detox appropriately. My body had what it needed to detox it properly, and it wasn't just dumping it into my gut for an emergency evacuation all day, every day. I don't know that what I just shared is going to be super helpful for any of you, because I didn't share specifics, and also because you just really need someone knowledgeable to guide you through that detox process. But that's my story. And even after overcoming the IBS, like no more diarrhea, there even now, like sometimes every now and then there's a little like gut issues where like everything looks fine, feels fine until like right after a bowel movement. I'll get pretty tired and need to go lay down. And I will actually say that some of that is due to supplements. Like there's this one supplement I was taking for years, lithium orotate. I know people hear lithium as a supplement and they think of like the psychiatric use of it. This is not that supplement, and it is not in that dose. That was high dose lithium. This is super, super low dose, and it's also specifically lithium orotate. which has completely different effects on the body. I had needed lithium orotate for a long time. It was very, very beneficial to me. But earlier this year, it seems that my need for it was gone. Like my body got what it needed. It needed me to stop taking it. And I had been feeling nauseous in the morning after I took it and having those bowel issues. And once I stopped taking the lithium orotate, the morning nausea went away and the strange bowel problems went away. So like, all right, big picture story. When your bowels are giving you problems on a daily basis, it's a message. Your bowels are saying something is inside me that is not good. Which is good to know, but then you have the hard task of figuring out what and why, okay? You know, like, is it a detox thing? What is it? How are you going to support your body in that detox? Is it you're taking a supplement that you don't need, okay? Or is it just in the wrong dose? Do you need to eliminate the supplement or do you need to cut back on it? Are you eating something that isn't good for you? I was taking a bitters supplement. Bitters are like literally just like really dark, bitter roots steeped in alcohol until they're very, very potent in taste. They're often used in cocktails. But you can also use bitters on your tongue 15 minutes before you eat, and it helps get your digestive juices going. It's very good for digestion, but this brand of bitters I was using, the first couple of weeks, it was fine. After a couple of weeks of taking that stuff, it caused massive bloating and exhaustion in me for like a week before I figured out what it was. I had to stop taking the bitters supplement and I was completely fine again. Silly stuff. This is why taking supplements on your own is dangerous, because we don't always catch this stuff. We need someone knowledgeable pointing this stuff out to us. And oh, shoot, I was my whole point was to share something useful. It's that your body's giving you a message when you have bowel issues, and it's up to you to figure out what's wrong. I guess that wasn't very helpful, was it? I mean, Jacko, like my IBS was definitely seemed to be like my body was detoxing something really hard for a long time related. But I also know people who have healed their IBS by switching to a vegan diet where they make everything at home. You know, like that's cured some people. So, you know, like what was causing their IBS was different than mine because it wasn't detox related. It was something food related. There was some sort of input from their food that their body was rejecting that they eliminated when they went vegan. It's very hard to know what that thing was without a lot of experimentation. So yeah, all I can say is that what you're going through is not uncommon and it's hard and it can still take a long time to figure this stuff out. But as always, it's worth the effort. Keep working with your you're working with a bunch of practitioners. If you have one or two people you trust the most, I would really focus on this with them. I wish I had a better answer. I feel really bad about not having a better answer than that. But that's what worked for me, working with someone knowledgeable that I trusted, who was my partner in my health, not barking orders at me like a lot of doctors try to. So Raph, yeah, he's bloated all the time. Do you think it's worth working on that? Yeah, it is worth working on it. Could be something in your diet. Could be a supplement you're taking. It could be the dose of a supplement that you're taking. It could be some detox process in your body has started and it's inflaming your bowels or causing the bacteria in your bowels to have funny issues. I mean, can I think of all the things I found that caused me to bloat? Sometimes apples make me bloat. My favorite food in the world. Sometimes they make me bloat a lot and it's horrible and makes me sad. I had this bitters I was taking cause the most extreme bloat of my life. Detox causing bloat. sometimes, some days, especially when I'm tired, if I get stressed out, just negative emotions cause me to bloat. And it's not until I get on top of my emotions and I start figuring out the negative ones and start bringing in more of like the gratitude and the things that make me feel better, then the bloat goes away. If I eat too much food or eat too fast, I get bloated. There's a lot of things. There's always a message it's sending you, and the problem is figuring out what that message is. So there's no prescriptive way, like, oh, you're bloated, do this, do that. Like, it doesn't work that way. I will even share that. But back when I was still pretty ill, even before I first became super ill, and while I was super ill, eating things like wheat would make me bloat a lot in a very specific, repeatable way. But now that I've healed my body to this point, I can eat that stuff and not get bloated. So like, is it really the wheat that's the problem? Or do I need my body to be at a certain level of health to avoid the bloat, right? That's what it was for me. So more examples. And also yet another cautionary tale to work with a doctor who knows what they're doing. Okay. Oh, so many comments to catch up on. Oh yeah, enjoy. You'd stop studying for 3 years. You know exactly what it's like. Oh, I love you guys. Yeah. All right, Raf. There is also a massage stool. I'm going to assume you mean massage tool that can trigger post-exertional malaise, just like exercise. Someone on the team of OMF talked about it. Yes, I'm sure it can. Let's see. Okay, you have acid reflux when you sleep, but not during the day. The burning awakens you. It's one of the reasons your sleep is insufficient. You sleep on your belly. Any tips besides not sleeping on my belly? All right, Raf. If you have acid reflux while you're sleeping, really the solution is to sleep with your head propped up on a couple pillows. Like have your head like seriously elevated. And actually, it's not just your head. It's actually about having like your whole like chest and body elevated. So like if we like bend at the hips, your stomach is not like lying flat with your legs. Like you're actually kind of whole body is on an angle. They actually sell mattresses where like a third of the way down the mattress, instead of just always being flat, it's on a motor so you can tilt the whole thing. And when you tilt that whole thing, it keeps your upper body more upright. It creates an upward path for the bile acids to follow that can actually help prevent that while you're sleeping. So short of going out and buying a really expensive bed with a motor in it to prop up your head, what you can do is you can create a situation where you have like 1 or 2 pillows down like under your lower back and then more pillows as you get closer to your head. Or I'm sure they probably even sell like sleep wedges. Actually, I'm just going to Google that right now and see if sleep wedges is a thing. Sleep wedge pillow. Yeah, so they have, all right, here we go. This is exactly it. They have one for $35 at Home Depot. That's if you live in the US. I'll just share this link with you guys here. You're going to want to use something like this. I mean, and I don't mind sharing this with you. Actually, it won't let me share that. Maybe either the URL's too long or it just doesn't like an external link. I don't know. Okay, it still goes there. I could have shortened it, but it still goes there. Yeah, so you're gonna want something like this. And I feel fine like recommending this because if you Google this is what comes up. If you go see a doctor, this is what they tell you to do. My boyfriend has acid reflux or silent acid reflux, and his uncle actually developed cancer, esophageal cancer, and died because of his silent acid reflux. My boyfriend takes this really seriously, and sleeping with his upper torso elevated works. He's also a singer, just for fun, not professionally. But for a lot of singers, if you have acid reflux at night, it can eat away at your voice box and ruin your voice. So definitely Get on one of those, Raf. Although this is a side tangent, it's not really chronic fatigue related. All right, we're hitting up on an hour. I am going to go through the rest of these comments, answer the rest of these questions, and then we'll see where that leads us. All right, Nika. All right. Jacko says, no worries. That's a good answer. Thank you. You switched to a low carb diet, but it didn't really help. Your stool test showed E. coli, possible parasites. Your diarrhea started after a hospital visit back in June. That's not good. There are some really nasty strains of bacteria in hospitals. And if one of those got into your gut, oh, that can be really, really hard to figure out. You've cut out all sugars, no fruits, no fermentable carbs. You switched practitioners last week, as it's been 8 months, and then 11 improvements. So you're at the stage where you have a new doctor, which is definitely a hard, tender one because you don't have someone who knows your health history super, super thoroughly. Yep. So I know you're getting all these tests done and stuff, and it's not really getting you the answers you want. I will say going low carb did not help me. I know some people say going low carb really, really helped their energy, and that's great. I wouldn't stick with it if it's not helping you because carbs are actually a really easy source of energy. I would not go relying on sugar. I'm not saying to do that, but if you can get like potatoes and a little bit of fruit and some rice in your diet at every meal, it's actually really, it's one of the easiest ways for your body to get energy in fast, okay? Like our bodies are so bad at producing energy right now that cutting out a simple, easy source of energy where like your body can like slowly break down potatoes and rice and complex carbs and get that glucose right into your bloodstream. It's ready to be used as energy. I would highly recommend adding that back in if you went low carb and it didn't really help you, okay? All right, Nika, what if you don't have a good doctor to work with? Look for one, keep looking. And I will say that not everyone who's helped me has been a licensed doctor. There are people I have worked with who were licensed acupuncturists, someone who had no licenses, somebody who was a health coach, okay? And they were able to help me. Now, I'm not saying all of these people will be good at helping all of us because that is not true. But the people who have helped me, and I talked about this a lot last time, are the people who themselves had become severely, mysteriously ill, who hadn't been able to get help from the conventional medical establishment. They figured out what they needed to heal. They figured out the healing journey, the healing process, and then became passionate about sharing that with other people. All right, those people helped me. They were not the only people I needed to heal, but there are several of them who are absolutely crucial on my journey. So I would recommend continuing to look for a great doctor because they can do things that non-licensed professionals can't do. But I would also open my mind up to exploring these other people and not going for sensational claims, but really getting to know someone's approach to health, how they do what they do and why they do what they do. And go from there. It's not quick and easy to find a doctor who can actually help people like us. I know, and it's hard. There's a little bit of luck to it, but it's worth the effort to find one. Let's see. Raf says wheat is the worst than other grains. It can be. I'm going to throw in, I don't like to talk about nutrition a ton on this channel, but I'm going to throw in some caveats here. So like wheat isn't always the worst. It can be pretty health giving and great under certain circumstances, right? So if you have a super healthy gut, that's great. If you're eating more organic wheat, it's not going to have the glyphosate, the Roundup, the pesticides in it. Like the organic wheat's going to be a little bit better for you. When I'm at home, when I buy wheat products, they're locally made from totally organic grains. And I actually go the extra step of making sure that I'm only buying bread products that are made from wheat that does not have bromides in it. It's unbromated wheat. Okay, and that is very, very hard to find. There's very little wheat that is unbromated. In the US, pretty much there's one brand, one national brand that does not put bromides in their flour, and that is Pepperidge Farm. All right, so I would argue that just if you're gonna go to the grocery store and buy bread, Pepperidge Farm is gonna be the healthiest wheat you can buy, especially if you can find an organic Pepperidge Farm, which I don't even know if they do that. But they're not adding bromides to their bread, which is great because bromide toxicity is nasty. And guess what? The main symptom of bromide toxicity is severe chronic fatigue. Isn't that interesting? So while I can eat normal wheat, like, non-organic, whatever, like normal wheat, like for a meal here and there and not have side effects, if I eat it too often, if I eat it several days in a row, I definitely start to notice gut issues and just not feeling well. But in the home, I can have wheat products every day if I get it locally made from unbromated flours. So for me, wheat isn't terrible as long as I'm getting it local, organic, and unbromated. But I know it takes a lot more effort. That kind of stuff isn't accessible for everybody. So I just, I'm in a place where I hate to vilify any one food because it's so contextual, and like wheat, all wheat used to be super bad for me. And now it's not. Like, it changed how bad it is. I just want to bring people away from vilifying any one food and put food into a context. And for many of us, like I was severely ill, and many of you who are severely ill, wheat might be a huge problem for you right now. I think it's worth finding out, worth cutting wheat out, not going low carb, but just cutting wheat out from your diet for a month and see what happens. If it helps, you found something that helps, right? And if it doesn't, you've learned that wheat isn't a problem for you. Jamie, you don't want a massage stool. None of us want a massage stool. Oh, stool, S-T-O-E-L is chair in Dutch. That's funny. Massage chair, Raph. Oh, you guys are both Dutch. That's funny. Raph says it ruins his sleep, so it is CFS related. Fair enough. This light is really getting bright here, isn't it? All right. Well, we're over an hour, so I'm going to head off soon anyway. We'll just have to deal with the bad light for today. Yeah, definitely recommend one of those sleep wedges, Raph. Don't ruin your esophagus and don't ruin your sleep. Oh, Belgian. Hi, TC highlights. Oh, and we have two highlights, RG2 highlights. Hi guys, you're new to the channel. We were getting close to wrapping up. If anyone has any additional questions, now's the time to get them in the chat box. I am happy to answer anything else related to severe chronic fatigue. While you guys are getting any last questions together, I'll give you a little update. So here in the US, in 2 weeks is Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving is when we celebrate Europeans coming to America and forming a friendship with the Indians, and the Indians helping us survive and live. This was long before any of the terrible things that we did to the Indians. To celebrate this year, instead of actually hanging out with family like I normally do, we're actually going to go to Iceland. I'm going to visit Iceland for the first time. We're going to go for 7 days. So what that means for this channel is that we have today's live Q&A, which is about to wrap up if there aren't questions related to living with severe chronic fatigue. We're going to have next Thursday's live Q&A. And then the week after that, I'm going to be in Iceland. And I'm going to have to see what the internet situation is like there. If they have good enough internet, I will be hosting a live Q&A at the normal time on that Thursday. But if there isn't good enough internet, then I won't be. So we're going to have to play that one by ear. And I'm hoping that I can put a little quick video on like a day or two before to let you know, like you'll get notified that that video went up, and that video will tell you whether or not Thursday will be on. So that's the plan for that. All right, it looks like we have some trolls, so they are going to go. I'm going to remove you and let's see. We'll just hide that user. All right, cool. All right, Jacko, Raph, maybe you have an infection, you had bad acid reflux. Interesting, okay. But taking an antibiotic helped. Yep, definitely worth going to see your doctor. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna hide that user. All right, I don't know why these guys are on this channel. Why do they care about this? All right, so to my regulars, if you guys have anything else, we'll give it like a minute or two for more questions. What else is going on in my world? Oh, this little, I told you about this little side project I took on during my hiatus. I was gonna spend a couple weeks working on this little project. It's going all right. It's been a ton of work. I've been super busy, which is why I haven't gotten to the meditations lately, which is really bumming me out, actually. I owe you guys meditations. And, oh, that is really getting bad. Yeah, I'm hoping next week I won't be working on the project anymore. So there should absolutely be time. Oh, one thing that maybe you guys will find interesting. For the first time in my life, I'm 34, about to turn 35. I have 2 cavities for the first time ever on Monday. I'm getting that one drilled. Oh, I'm getting that one drilled. So I'm a little bummed. Finally have cavities. I have to get them taken care of. All right, we're getting too many weirdos hopping on here, guys. It is time to go. All right, good to see you, Jamie. Bye, Roxy. Bye, Jacko. Bye, Raph. Bye, Indra. Bye, anybody else I may have missed. Oh, Nika, Roxy. All right, guys. I will see you next week at the same time. Bye.